Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and I am joined by Mr. Robert Harrison. What's going on?
How you doing?
How's it going this week, man?
It's going well. Beautiful spring weather. Got nothing to do. Quarantined at home. Got no stress. Hanging out, having a beer, talking about music. Life is not that bad.
It's not that bad as long as you've got a little bit of change in your pocket and can see you going at least for another month.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe 3.5 weeks.
Such is life these days.
Start mowing yards again, just like it was 1983, 84.
That's what I did.
I made my living mowing those yards.
Man, I made so much more money than any of the dudes that were working at Burger King or McDonald's or wherever.
Self-employment, that's the way to go.
I'd work in the morning, and then I'd be done by the afternoon, and I would just have all night just to play music or do whatever I wanted to do.
I got a promotion when I started buying and selling Volkswagens to my friends. I would buy a piece of crap Volkswagens for like $100 or $150.
Can't do that anymore.
And I'd fix them up and sell them to my friends. I made, like, with one car, I would make as much as I used to in the entire summer. So that was definitely a step up from mowing yards.
Now, those days are gone because I noticed that you had a race car and you sold it very promptly.
I did.
Back in the day, you would have worked on that thing.
I would have back in the day. If I didn't have, a fire truck, firehouse.
2 fire trucks, actually.
One that's going to run, one you have to push. But I've got enough projects. It was not meant to be. It kind of just showed up. I wasn't really consulted about it. We sat around talking and had a few beers, and somebody's like, "Yeah, we should do this." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, great, yeah." And then all of a sudden, like a week later, this car shows up in my old shop over there. So it was bittersweet. I didn't get to race it, but there will be others.
Now, what was that monstrosity? What kind of car was that?
It was mostly 79 BMW 5 Series, full race prep, roll cage, fuel cells, inline six. So the problem is it had blown a head gasket, and so we probably would have and plus it had been sitting for 3 years. We probably would have had to rebuild
in
the weeds with kudzu. I literally had to clear the kudzu out of it.
Wow.
So it would have been a lot of work to get that thing back on the road. So I think I'm going to skip all that and just buy one that already runs and save the whole restoration of a piece of crap race car that's not worth, basically, the wheels. The wheels were worth more than the car.
Hearing us talk about this, I would imagine that listeners right now are thinking in their head, ding, 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 ding.
Hey, it was a BMW.
As far as where we live.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, we are.
We got a car in the back and it's covered in kudzu.
It was one step away from being on blocks. I mean, somebody offered to buy the wheels, and I'm like, yeah, then it would be sitting on blocks, and I would be living out every stereotype then. I would have checked every single box.
Just so everybody knows, we actually do live in a city, okay? It's not.
Yes.
We're not quite as out in the country as you may think.
But the firehouse is kind of secluded within the city where we have kind of one street.
It's tucked away.
That's not the fancy street like the other streets around me. So we're allowed to get away with things like goats and chickens and cars on blocks and stuff. So that's the reason I live here.
So if you're tired of listening to us, you can hop on over to Metal Up Your Podcast, The Dummy Room, Pod of Thunder, Decibel Geek, Podcast Rock City, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, and Kistry Science Theater, and some others that I usually name, but I don't feel like naming them. I'll name them next time, guys. Also, come visit us, InObscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's jump in. And I guess before we jump in, actually, I got a text today from one Jeremy Zamora.
Oh, nice to hear from Jeremy.
And he said, so 2 episodes ago, we had the Sweden Rocks episode.
That was a good episode.
And I mentioned Jeremy in that episode and said that he introduced me to a couple of those bands, actually. And he had to bring up, the fact that we got some stuff wrong.
Oh, no. Well, actually.
Hey, man, I'm not telling anyone that I know everything.
No.
I do some research, and then some things I just have to riff off the top of my head.
We try to get as much as we can, not every single thing.
We talked about the Helicopters, and I mentioned that their guitarist and singer came from Entombed, which was a black metal band.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so I think I had said, he doesn't sound anything like Entombed. Well, he was not the singer in Entombed, okay? So he goes to play guitar and sing in the Helicopters, but he was actually the drummer in Entombed.
Well, how are you supposed to know that?
Jeremy wanted to make
really
sure
obscure.
that I got that right. Well, apparently Entombed, I'm not a black metal dude, but apparently Entombed were a huge black metal, death metal. I don't know the difference between the two. I hate to say that, but I don't.
Is it
really
the cover
know.
art?
Is it the logo written to where I can't understand what the hell it says?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So we owe him a beer. So every time he corrects us, we have to buy him a beer, right?
That would be a good episode. Is we should just get a bunch of black metal albums and try to figure out what the hell is the name of the band.
I have
because you cannot read the damn thing.
I've got a jacket. I'll wear my hoodie that somebody left or I acquired somehow, and I don't know what the hell the name of the band is, but I've been wearing this black hoodie for about
Lucifer's
a year.
Tit.
It's something like that. And okay, so I'll bring that. Well, it's too hot to wear that these days, but anyway, yeah, I like the theme. Let's figure out the names of bands just by the way they sound.
All right. Well, that's not what we're going to talk about this episode, but I did want to give out that disclaimer and that, I did want to make that correction because we here at the InObscuria podcast, we strive for excellence, but we don't always get it right.
But
something like that.
I think we get most of it, though. It's like a B minus.
We do pretty well.
Yeah.
This episode, it's an easy one. It's going to be a dead ringer. So I was actually thinking about, instead of playing, my Ouija board or doing any crazy occult type things that certainly I do.
We got enough weird stuff going on right now.
Yeah, we got enough weird stuff going on. But I was thinking about
murder hornets.
I saw the Striper photo going out through Facebook, and it was called Murder Hornets. They had a Striper photo.
Nice. Awesome. I didn't see that. I need to see that.
That would have been a great name for Striper had they not already had the Striper name. Anyway, I was thinking about
Jesus bees.
Jesus's bees. The G's bees.
Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
Nice. Holy hornets. Anyway, I was thinking about near-death experiences that I've had in my life. Have you had? I know you've had a few.
It's just a few.
But yeah. I was thinking of one in particular. And I don't know why this. I guess because everything, when you cut on the television or listen to anything on a podcast or anything else, all you hear about is who's died today. What are the numbers? And so it just got me thinking, have I ever come close? And I certainly have. And one time I remember in particular, you were actually a part of.
Oh, God.
I mean, you weren't in the room, but you were in the venue.
An accomplice.
We were actually at a venue in Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, yeah, I remember the story.
And it was an upstairs venue, and it was basically two big rooms. They had one room basically cornered off. And it was the bar and the room that the band played in were separate from this other side of the building that was closed off. And it was used as kind of just dressing rooms and storage. But it was really just a big open, old building that somebody had told me that they had used as part of the Underground Railroad at some point, that like the elevator shaft or something went down to the Underground Railroad. Well, I thought that was interesting. So I walk into the back of the part that is sectioned off, and I see where the elevator shaft is, and I'm talking to Brandon Still, and we're just chit-chatting. I'm looking, and we were talking about the story that we heard, and I go to lean against what I thought was a wall, but the elevator shaft was completely open, and I didn't realize it. It was really dark in the room, and it was kind of in the back of the room, and I go, and I just am able to catch myself before falling and
2 stories,
plummeting
maybe
to my death
in
an old elevator shaft, which I certainly would have died. And I mean, I'm just barely caught myself. And Brandon was like, "Oh my God," he was freaking out. I think this was before the show.
Yeah.
But anyway, that just got me thinking about those days and where we were playing. And I also thought, who were we playing with that night? And I thought, every time we played with bands back in the day, especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s, really throughout the 2000s, you would always get either a tape or a CD of the band that you were playing with.
We'd all do an exchange, either T-shirt or
get an exchange,
or
you just find them at a venue. Sometimes bands just leave things in the back, and you find CDs and whatnot. And it got me thinking, you know what? This week we're going to unearth the unsigned bands. And some of these we have played with, some we have history with, and some we never knew. But that's what we're going to talk about today. Is episode 27, Unsigned Unearthed. What do you think?
I like it. Now, hopefully you're talking about the band that I'm thinking of.
The band that we played with?
Yeah.
So, our first song is, I believe, the band that we played with that night. And this band happens to be called Union Drag.
Yes.
Yes. And Union Drag featured a guitarist who we were friends with named Jeff Gardner. And I believe Jeff was he in Star Collector as well?
Was it Star Yard or Star Collector?
I don't know. There were two bands at the same time, and I kept getting them wrong. I'm sure somebody will correct us. So it was Jeff Gardner on guitar, a guy named Mark Green on bass, and who was on the drums? None other than Skid Row's drummer, Mr. Rob Hammersmith, good friend of ours. He actually played with us in The Swear for a little bit, helped us out for a while. Just an all-around amazing dude, and I actually texted him to make sure it was cool if I played this song today. So he was like, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to play some Union Drag. I don't know what you consider them. At the time, so it was around 2002?
2 or 3.
Yeah. They were very similar to us, except they weren't nearly as goofy as we were, but we did have that going for us. But they were very straightforward rock, kind of a throwback to that power pop, I guess is what you considered. I don't know. They weren't quite hair band. They were somewhere else, but I don't know. We'll take a listen and you think about what you want to call them.
I can picture the stage. I remember their logo had the Union Jack in it. God, I remember that night vividly, probably because I had to drive home, so I was pretty sober. So that might be one reason I remember it.
Yeah, I remember it too for other reasons.
Yeah, that stuck with you.
Always loved playing with those guys. And who knew that Rob would go on to join Skid Row?
But it's so cool. It's so very cool. I'm glad he has that opportunity still. And it's just they're all talented, but it's always fun to see people that they're able to follow their dream like that.
Yeah, and I always knew there was something about Rob. You just knew he was going to be something.
Yeah,
you knew he was going to go on and do other things. The way the guy hits the drums, and just I used to love to just watch him play. I still do when I go see Skid Row. I love to watch the guy play. So I texted him and asked him if I could play it, and then I just said, What's been going on? He's like, oh, it's killing me. Because, Skid Row they're out pretty much most of the year. And for them to kind of sit around, and my understanding is they have an album in the can, and they were just sort of waiting on a new release to come out, I believe, this year. I think he recorded his parts almost a year ago. So they've just sort of been waiting, and
they'll hold on to that. They're not going to release that and then not tour.
No, it wouldn't make sense for them. So I don't know if you know, but when we saw them, they were a 3-piece.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the date of this demo as 2004, and when I look at the images from 2004 from their old pictures, it looks like, I didn't realize this, but they added a second guitarist, and it was Mark Donnell's.
Oh.
I don't remember seeing them with Mark Donnell's. I'm pretty sure every time we played with them, they were a trio.
Yeah, I remember them as a power trio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my memory.
But so Mark Donnell's, he's been a driving force in my band, The Swear. He has been from an engineer to a producer to all-around vocal arranger. So anytime we do background vocals for my band, The Swear, we usually go over to Mark's house and do our background vocals there because he's amazing at coming up with vocal harmonies and kind of helping get those harmonies out of me and out of Elizabeth to make sure they're just as good as they can be. Mm-hmm. So he's just a really cool guy, great musician. He plays in a group called Yacht Rock. I believe they're fairly national now. I think there are a couple of different versions of Yacht Rock Review.
And the Yacht Rock, or there was Yacht Rock Schooner.
There were a couple of versions. There was a touring version, and then there was the version that does more regional and kind of hired for big parties and things like that. But if you've ever heard of Yacht Rock or Yacht Rock Review, Mark Donnell's is one of the guys who started that whole thing.
Shannon Pengali, can't remember how to say his last name. He's the other driving force. They were in YOU.
Yeah, there was a band called YOU. Those guys were, that's right. They started Yacht Rock. And actually Brandon, our friend who's now in Blackberry Smoke, who was also in Big Jack Pneumatic with us, he started off in Yacht Rock as well. So it's just a big mix of Atlanta musicians who are playing AM Gold. But it's cool. It's fun. I tell you what, though, you go to a Yacht Rock show, man, you just better wear your bad pair of shoes because there are people puking all over the place. There are
a bunch of amateurs.
There's a bunch of people that go out to those Yacht Rock shows. They want to hear their Hall & Oates and songs that they have loved all their life, and they obviously don't get out much, and they just drink themselves into a stupor. And these are people as, mostly between 30 and 60, and they just go nuts for this AM music and puke all over the place. I must have seen
soccer moms.
I must have seen like 5 soccer moms puking the last time I saw them. It was impressive.
Because when they started off, it was all 20-somethings. I walked into one of their early shows and looked around. I'm like, wow, I'm older than everybody here. And at the time, I was only 35. But it was interesting to see that change now. It's more mainstream.
Well, and I mean, they've,
mainstream again.
Everybody's kind of grown with them as well. I mean, every guy in the band is either in his 40s or 50s, I would assume at this point now. So
God, we're old.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna go back for this next song. I'm gonna go back to the 90s, and there was a band that toured relentlessly and played mostly the college scene, mostly on the East Coast, although I believe they did go elsewhere. And this is a band from St. Augustine, Florida, and they began their perpetual tour in 1992, and that tour actually went until 1999. And they really did tour all the time. They had a shirt, instead of having the dates on the back, it just said perpetual tour, and it just had the cities that they go to.
If you missed this, we'll be back.
We'll be back. Yeah. And the band I'm talking about is a band called Spider Monkey.
I knew this. As soon as you said perpetual tour, I'm like, oh, Spider Monkey.
Yeah, it's Spider Monkey. And it was interesting because they were playing the right music at the right time to where somebody really should have signed them. I'm surprised they did not get signed. This band would sell out every place I saw them. And we saw them in Florida. We saw them in South Carolina. We saw them in Atlanta. We used to really follow this band, my college buddies and me. So shout out to Blake and Joey.
They also had one of the most genius song ideas ever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Booby Song?
Well, I was going to be more diplomatic, but yes. Oh. Yes, take off your top, show us what you got.
Yeah.
Genius. I can't believe I didn't think to do that.
Yeah, in the lyrics department, this band was very much from the crotch.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a little bit jokey. I mean, there are songs where they talk about do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around and things like that. But it was very energetic. It was all about fun. And I swear to God, I've never seen so many college girls going just
Nuts.
crazy at a show.
God, they were.
And these were, these guys were, this was a regional band. They toured the East Coast. That's all they did. They released their own CDs and sold their own merch. They were part of Cellar Door, so they did have somebody promoting them and getting them out there. But they were never signed, and they just did everything on their own. And people treated them like rock stars. I mean, they would sell out.
They acted like it on stage. They put on a hell of a show. They were so energetic.
Yeah, you would never know that they weren't a signed band back in the day. And actually, they're still around somewhat. I think they sold out a show maybe a year ago. They played in Charleston, which is one of the places that we used to go to see them, and it was always just a beach party. I mean, just so much fun. But they released 4 albums in their years from 92 to 99. One of them was a live album, and they sold, reportedly, this is on their site, so, numbers what they are on their site, but reportedly they have sold over 50,000 CDs just on their own, which is pretty damn impressive.
Hey, keep a little bit more of that profit.
Technically, they're still together, but I don't think they're touring like they used to.
Active.
Yeah, but I mean, in those years from 92 to 99, if you were on the East Coast, you saw their name in a bar near you every couple months.
What was that, a Chameleon Club? We saw them right there in Buckhead.
Is that what it was called?
I think it was called the Chameleon Club.
I can't remember.
Oh, I stumped you.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the clubs. But anyway, I'm going to play something from 1995. This is when I was really getting into them. This is when I've talked about that I kind of transitioned over to funk in the mid-90s, and that's kind of what my bands were playing. And we actually opened for them on when they had this album out. And I thought our music went together really well because we were kind of funky. They were kind of funky. So anyway, I'm going to play something from their album Motivator that came out in 1995. This is a song called Glance.
She
you can't help but compare them to the Chili Peppers.
That's what I was thinking
Same
too.
time frame.
Yeah.
The guy was just as sweaty as Anthony Kiedis.
And they were all kind of good looking dudes,
Oh,
and
God,
they
ripped.
always had their shirts off, and just like the Peppers. I mean, very very similar stage presence, I would say. And that's probably why the girls would just go nuts.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that never worked for
they
me.
were, they were playing rock music, but it was kind of grooving and funky,
Mm-hmm.
just enough that it was danceable, and yet it was rock enough that the dudes were into it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a perfect mix. And like I said, I don't know why. I'm assuming that they got deals thrown at them, and maybe they just didn't go for them.
Yeah,
because they had a pretty good thing going.
if you know them, tell them to give us a call. Reach out, let us know the story.
Tony G.
Behind
Luca
the
on
music.
bass. The bass is badass.
Yeah, it
Tony was an amazing bass player, probably still is. All right, so for our next one, let's head back to Atlanta, and this is sort of my way of paying homage to some of the guys that kind of inspired us and helped us throughout the years. And we've already talked about Mark Donnell, so this is another Mark Donnell's project that I'm going to talk about, but this is really a Curtis Clark project that I'm going to talk about. So Curtis Clark was in a band. He put together a band, and Mark later joined it. But the band I'm talking about is called Blacklight Posterboys, and they were kind of Atlanta rock royalty at the time. And Curtis, if you've been to Atlanta and you've heard of something called Meddlesome Monday, it's a live band karaoke. I know they do it in L.A., but they made their own thing in Atlanta called Meddlesome Monday.
It's just meddlesome now because they do it, or they did, pretty much 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
They'd sell that place out.
It's called Virtual Meddlesome now.
Virtual meddlesome.
But anyway, Curtis started that whole thing and put that whole band together, and it's had a rotating cast of amazing Atlanta musicians.
Including Brandon,
including Kent.
That's right, Kent. I forgot about.
So anyway, Curtis was in this band called Blacklight Posterboys, and I remember them, one of the local TV stations, they had
During the Olympics,
Blacklight Posterboys on it, and they had one of their songs featured on the local TV station. I just remember seeing that and going, that's pretty cool. To actually,
that's the big time.
Yeah, to actually,
they're on TV
in Atlanta. It was a big
Atlanta's
deal
a
at the
big
time.
market.
And so anyway, they started in '95 and they released a couple of albums and they were kind of done. And Curtis would go on to work at where Meddlesome played out of, which is called the Dark Horse Tavern. And then they renamed it 10 High, the venue downstairs, but it just used to be the Dark Horse Tavern. And Curtis was the one that would book us when we were Big Jack Pneumatic, the first incarnation, I believe, and maybe even the second as well. But he was always a big supporter of us musically, even with the swear, he was a big supporter of us as well and would let us open if we wanted to play, just get out and play. He'd say, come open for Meddlesome.
And that was always one of my favorite places to play. It's kind of like our home base.
It was.
Because I knew when we played there, we'd have a great crowd, have a good time. It sounded good.
Always sounded good.
Yeah.
You either had Hans or you had Curtis on the board at that time. So anyway, I'm going to play something from the Blacklight Posterboys. This is another one of those groups that they had some exposure and just didn't quite get over the hump. But man, they should have been signed because at this time, this came out in 2000, rock was still happening. And at this point in time, record companies still had money. So they really should have picked them up. But this is a song called Pennies from a Pig from Psychotic Love Songs, Blacklight Posterboys 2000.
Untold until now, at last the secret's finally out. Unspoken memories, the silent now out. But your jar of foolish deeds, one shattered on the floor, like pennies from a pig, always one more. But the guilty conscience will always find a crack and slide out from
liking this episode a lot. I forgot how good they were.
They were awesome. Much respect to
Yes.
Mark Donnells and Curtis. I mean, they were just top notch.
God, just good production on that, good lyrics, real interesting arrangement. The chord progressions were really interesting. I don't know. It's just, I remember that time, and you're right. It was towards the end of the heyday of the alt rock, pop rock, whatever you want to call it.
The 99X days here.
Yeah,
in
99
Atlanta.
X days. Yeah, the
Yeah.
local radio station, and yeah, about 3 years later, it was just all angry rap metal.
Not even that long, really.
Yeah, I mean that was
It was right around the corner.
Yeah, it was right around the corner. It's the
Yeah.
beginning of the end.
Because that's when we started playing, was around that time, and it was us and a bunch of new metal acts.
New metal.
So next I'm going to play a band that the Swear used to play quite a few shows with. And this is a band from Knoxville, Tennessee, that we used to really dig these guys. They were just the nicest guys. They had their stuff together. Very alt rock, but just really good and really good stage presence. What I couldn't find is really what happened to them. We played with them around 2005, 2006, and then you just can't really find much information on them. But they were Knoxville based, and they toured regionally around the Southeast. And at one point, we really wanted to steal their guitarist. The Swear were looking at getting a second guitarist, or I guess a third guitarist, because Elizabeth does play, a third guitarist. And their guitarist, Rocky, who was their rhythm guy, we were like, oh man, he'd be great in the band. But we never were able to steal him away. So the band's called shadowWax. Their one CD that came out that they gave to us, and I think you can still find it on Amazon, is called Invitation Karma Crash. And I'm going to play the title track from that album. I think it's the first track on the CD, but it's just really good rock music. Wish they would have kept going.
Fashion sells
remember the name, but I didn't remember the band, even though I was at the shows. That was a long time ago. They have that more up-tempo Alice in Chains sound.
Yeah, I was going to say STP, but
STP,
Alice
it's
in
kind of
Chains
that
works.
same realm.
Yeah, totally.
I guess the harmonies made it seem more Alice in Chains, but yeah, the up-tempo 90s rock, but it was 10 years after that.
It was, yeah. But they were great live and just good dudes and solid band live. I wish they would have kept going. These things can burn out quickly when you're either, it's a passion play, you know, you're doing it for the love of it, and if you're not making a lot and you're trying to get out there regionally and do it, it's expensive. It takes its toll.
It takes its toll, the traveling, just the personalities. I know from experience that, you know, we had our run and, you know, the air was let out and we reformed in different groups. I went a different way, and that's what bands do. You know, if you're not moving forward, you change directions.
Absolutely. And we're going to change directions, go back to Atlanta. And this is a band that just had some major cred. Another band that I think we're only around for a short period of time, but they got major cred with Kent and I because, and Jeremy as well, because when the Swear played with them, they told us, hey, guess who's producing our album right now? Steve Albini. Whoa, that's awesome. So if you don't know who Steve Albini is, he was in a band called Big Black, which is like a industrial punk band back in the day. And then he had a noisy punk band called Shellac, but he produced Nirvana's In Utero. He's produced Helmet. He did that really bad Jimmy Page, Robert Plant album, but we won't mention that. Oh, wait, I just did. He did Flogging Molly, The Pixies. I mean, just goes on and on. The guy has some major production credits. Mostly what he does is he records really, really good drums, and he mostly does things live. He likes to use tape, and he likes to do it live, and that's kind of his thing. He's like old school when he records bands. And so he recorded this band. They're called Spy, and they released one album called Spy. And we played with them once or twice. They were super cool to watch on stage. And I remember the guitarist had a green Brian May guitar, which I thought was really unique.
Yeah, you don't hear that a lot.
But it sounded great with the stuff they were playing, which is kind of power pop, punkish music, but just really good. A little bit atmosphere to it as well. And the thing I remember the most is I think it was the second time we played with them. The lead singer was they dressed really cool and looked cool, and the lead singer had only like these old school velvet pants, you know, red velvet pants, and he was jumping around, doing his little Mick Jagger moves. And at one point, he totally rips his pants, and his sack is just like hanging out from his tighty-whities.
Hello.
But he just kept going. I don't think he even knew what happened, and we were all like, uh-oh.
To the point, like, excuse me, you got,
I spy something.
ball.
Yeah. So I'm going to play some Spy. So just put that in your head as this is playing.
Far away.
Some good old-fashioned balls to the wall rock.
That came out in 2005. Balls to the wall for sure.
Yeah, well, you said it came out about then. Yeah, on stage.
Yeah,
That's their next album, their follow-up album. Didn't quite make it.
that album is so good though. They released it on at the time, so 2005. They released it on vinyl and digital only, which at that time there weren't
vinyl
many
was
people
not
doing that then.
that popular in 2005.
And Kent and Jeremy and I was like, this is so cool. These guys are awesome. Because that's what we wanted to do. But we didn't have the eyeballs to release a vinyl record back then.
Mm-mm.
We did CDs because you could sell them at the shows easily. I wish Spy were still around. The one album, if you can find it, is great. It's self-titled Spy. Go look for it. You may look under Steve Albini's credits and perhaps find it on, I don't know, eBay, or it might be on Amazon. I didn't check, but really good stuff. The whole album's great. I want to go over to Texas because a lot of good music comes out of Texas.
God, yeah.
And when we had the opportunity, we being the Swear, had the opportunity to go play South by Southwest in Austin a couple times. The biggest thrill for me and Jeremy was really not so much the playing a show, but going out and seeing all the other acts. And there were so many bands that you could just go see. You could just walk down 6th Street, pop into any bar at any time, and see something amazing. You see a lot of shit, too. But every once in a while...
Then you pop right back out.
You pop out if you see that. But there were just so many good bands, and I heard that they may not be carrying on with South by. I don't know, but...
They could see a revival at some point. I mean, there's no...
It had gotten a little bloated. It started off being about bands who were unsigned, who were trying to get signed. It was about a way for the industry, for all these bands to kind of showcase themselves. And then over the years, it turned into a more industry standard, big artist who don't really need exposure would start playing it because it's just a big festival. It just turned into a big scene. So it really morphed. We were in on kind of the last of the years where they were still focusing somewhat on unsigned acts, but even when we were playing, we played mostly free shows. So if you had a wristband and you paid to get into the venues, the bigger venues, you could see the big signed international artist, which to me, that wasn't really what it was all about. We were playing the Red Gorilla Festival, which was part of South by, but it was where you'd walk into a bar and you'd see bands for free. Anyway, we would see just tons of awesome bands. I talked about going to Japan night and just all these amazing Japanese bands that would come over to play these events. But there were also just bands in any bar you'd go into. And one time, Jeremy and I stumbled into a bar middle of the day, and we had enjoyed a few cocktails.
I believe it.
And we were just kind of chilling. And we walk into this little place and squeezed into a very tiny corner of a bar. I mean, next to the bar where the bar stools were was a tiny corner, and this band had set up, and it looked like the meanest bunch of biker dudes you have ever seen. I mean, just looked like you did not want to get close to whatever's about to go on. And then what happened was they plugged their guitars in and they started playing, and we were just mesmerized. It was one of the best live performances I've ever seen, and it was in the space of where we're standing right now. And it was like 5 guys, all denim and leather, in March in Austin, Texas. It can either be cold or it can be really hot, and it was really hot that year. They were just sweating to death, long black hair. Yeah, so anyway, just sweaty biker dudes from Texas. We found out they're from San Antonio, and their name was the Heroine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can go either way.
They were awesome. We absolutely love them. And this band, they're still around today. And actually, they were supposed to be on a national tour right now during this time. And then COVID-19 happened. So it's unfortunate for them.
Same story with so many bands.
Yeah, but
So many
they've
bands.
been slogging it out. The song I'm going to play is from 2006. We probably saw them in 2012, maybe 2011, and they've just been playing for years and years, and they're just really, really good. And if you like hard rock, heavy metal, just balls to the wall, Motorhead type music, you're gonna like what you're about to hear.
Hello.
They won some kind of award where they got flown out to open for Motley Crue at the Whiskey a few years ago before Crue packed it in. So that's kind of cool.
Allegedly. Packed it in.
Yeah, right. Allegedly. Well, I think COVID might have done their tour,
yeah.
and we'll see. But anyway, they've opened for Clutch. They've opened for The Sword, which is, I believe, another Texas band. Guns N' Roses, STP, Stained. So they've been playing the scene, been doing their thing. They're still working day jobs, but still touring when they can. So, the American dream.
Good for them.
So I'm going to play the Heroine. Dig this band. They have several releases on iTunes and Amazon. Go get them. The name of the song is The Ballad of Lenny King.
Check one, check. Check one. Oh, check. Oh, check. Check. Oh, mama. When I was a little boy, my mama said, son, study hard and stay in school. You gotta get that education now. Don't end up like a fool. She said, your daddy's a real good man. He worked the fingers hard to the bone. Hey, but he went off chasing that dream that night with that guitar and microphone. Oh no. Well, I studied hard like a good boy should. I tried to make my mama proud, but I heard that thunder off in the distance. It was calling out real loud. So I wiped the dust off that old guitar. I grabbed that stand and microphone. I packed my band and called the band. We traveled far from home. Oh yeah, I went down. I went down to the crossroads. I went down. To the crossroads. I once was dead, but now I'm alive. Oh, I saw the light. I went down to the crossroads. Deals and money talks. I rock from New York to LA. I got diamonds on my ears that bleed, and mama now she's okay. She said, my son, he's a real good boy. He plays the fingers hard to the bone. He's out there living that dream right now with that guitar and microphone. Oh yeah, I went down. I went down to the crossroads. I went down to the crossroads. I once was dead, but now I'm alive. Oh, I saw the light. I went down to the crossroads.
Like a modern day MC5. Just amazing.
I was thinking like a metal version of the Strokes.
Yeah.
Just real fun, energetic.
But can you imagine seeing that in a tiny little
bar.
space? And these are not little men. these are big dudes.
Little men's. And that makes it even more special.
And then we go and talk to them afterwards, and they're just like the nicest guys ever, just really cool. But they look like they look like they were part of the cartel, man. They look like they were going to take us out.
Texas Mafia.
Yeah. So anyway, they were amazing. And like I said, they're still going. So go and support these guys for sure. All right, I have one more song to play, and it's amazing, but I have an unsigned artist from Australia that I'm going to play. And in 2010-ish, 11-ish, I don't really remember, somewhere around there, I get a call from Kent Oberly, who was the drummer in The Swear. At this point, he had left The Swear, and he was doing some other things, but he calls me up, and he's like, hey, man. It sounds like it, right?
Hey, man.
It sounds just like Kent. He's got this kind of mellow way.
Hey, man.
Yeah, these guys called me up. They're from Melbourne, and they're in town, and they need a backing band. They need a bass player. So I told them you'd probably do it. I was like, oh, all right, cool. Sure. What do they sound like? He's like, oh, they're going to pay us a little bit. We're going to play Athens. We're going to play Atlanta. And, they're going to be here next week, so you got to learn their whole album.
20 songs.
Which for Kent, that's no big deal.
No.
Mr. Professional over there. For me, I was like, oh, crap, I better start listening to this stuff. So they sent it to me, and I totally dug it. It was great. The band's called The On Fires from Melbourne, Australia. It's a duo. It's Max and Marty. They both sing. So Max, she plays like a keytar, like this, like a homemade keytar though.
Nice.
And she's got this amazing curly red hair, and they wear their whole thing with the On Fires is they wear all red. And Marty wears, he plays guitar, and then he wears like this weird looking stocking cap thing. I don't know. They have their thing, but they have a little shtick, but they're great live and really energetic music, kind of punk, kind of not. I don't know, but it's really good music. I learned all their songs, and we played 2 gigs with them, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then Kent got the opportunity to play with them again. So what they were doing was they were touring. So they're an independent artist, completely on their own. Max, I believe, has a marketing background, and so she was like, I want to travel the world and play music. So she figured out a way that they could go to Europe and play shows, and what they would do is they would hire local talent to be basically the backing band. So they were kind of the section up front, and then you'd have a drummer and a bass player, your rhythm section that you would hire. They would go all over Europe doing that, and then they came to the States. And then I guess at one point they decided, we don't want to pay the extra money to get a bass player. We just need a drummer, really. And so at one point, I guess Marty figured out how to make his guitar kind of do both guitar and bass tones. And so they were then a trio, and they got offered some huge festival gigs in China, and they took Kent with them. And Kent has some amazing footage on Facebook and YouTube of I think a couple of tours they did in China, but really fun band, great people. And just, I believe they're going again. I think they played Germany in 2019, and they're starting to play again. So if you see or hear of the On Fires coming around, go check them out. Great people, great songs, really good band. I'm going to play something from their album that I Had to Learn, which came out in 2010, called Betrayer. And this is one of the songs that we played. It's called Coming Home.
Through the traffic and I don't give a damn, breaking all the laws and I challenge anyone to try and calm me down. Hey, hey, hey! People jumping back, get out of my way, staring in my wake because they think I'm crazy. But I gotta get back to you, to you, to you, to you. Oh, I'm coming home. Fast as I fast as I can. Thinking of you, waiting, don't know when I'll arrive. Not sure if I'll be there at all to take you in my loving arms. Hey, hey, hey! Just to get a message, how you gathering dust. I'm pacing up and down with a hey, ho, stop. That only drags you down. You're down, you're down, you're down. Oh, oh, I'm coming home. Oh, I'm coming fast as I. I'm coming fast as I. Fast as I can. Don't you give up on me. I've been useless with the promises that I made, but I'll be with you till you find a breath. I'll be with you till you find a breath.
I like the surf rock interlude.
A little wipeout in the middle.
I bet you Ken had fun with that.
It was so much fun playing with them and seeing, if you go look at the YouTube videos of them playing that song live in front of the Chinese crowd.
Like
and these are big
100,000
big
people
festival crowds. Yeah, and they're jumping up and down and screaming the whoa. It's really cool. Amazing that they got that opportunity and
It's a great experience.
deserved,
Yeah.
much deserved, because they're a great band. So that's what I have for you. Unsigned bands that we played that probably no one's ever heard of unless they just happened upon these bands in a bar at some point in time.
But you just played a soundtrack of us sitting waiting to play, because that's what we were listening to as we were waiting to play, or after we finished playing,
Or just going and hanging out
going
with
and
friends.
hanging out with friends. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was that whole era right then. It was great.
Anything else from you, Robert?
That is it. It's time for dinner or lunch or something.
Leonard.
Leonard.
All right. We're out of here. Later, peeps.
Bye.